Well, got a bunch of black parts that are now black again. All lined up in a row. Cleaned and painted and ready to rock and roll. Roll back the clock a few years. Frame's all cleaned up. All black again. Painted. There. Putting the lid back on the motor. Before I do, I wanted to mention that one of the first things I did was check the cam lobes. These motor designs had a real problem with wearing out the cam prematurely. I wanted to make sure that was okay, and it looks like it's fine. I also reset the valves. The intake was good, the exhaust was a little bit loose. I'll just put the lid back on. Making progress. Interesting that one of the last things out, one of the first things back in was the transmission and the engine. With the drive shafts in there. Hoping tonight to get the axles and the swing arms on. Something to mention for reference, all these rods and plastic pieces are the bushings and pins that the suspension bounces up and down on. All these rods are supposed to have a shiny finish, and not so much anymore. They're getting pretty rough. I'm going to clean them up as best I can. Some of these are in pretty rough shape. This one actually has an interesting little bend on one end. I didn't notice that until I got it cleaned up. There's grease fittings all over the machine. You're supposed to pump grease in, and it will run down those channels inside to keep everything greased up, but obviously they haven't been done in a very long time because water got in there and rusted them. Making progress. I got the legs on. Now I gotta work on the plumbing and electrical so I can get the brakes on, get the wheels on. Get closer. More to do today. And I got a typical brake problem going on. The brake fluid is supposed to be clear instead of whatever that molasses color is in there. It's supposed to be changed every year because it collects water, but nobody ever does. The other problem is the brake caliper blocks are usually made out of steel or aluminum, and these rubber rings sit in the grooves here to seal up the piston. But when the block behind it corrodes, it swells up and then the rings can't move. So you end up with all this crud down in here in the grooves. And you gotta clean all that out of there, otherwise the piston gets jammed and it can't move. I ordered a new set of brake pads just because, but I was discouraged to find out that they really didn't have that much more lining than these ones. Usually car brakes, the friction lining on the inside is twice the thickness of the backness, and these are only 1-for-1. So I think we'll run these old ones for now until we get the brake rotors burnished back in, because these are looking a little rough. They're kind of pitted. I'm thinking we'll run them for a while, get them polished up, and then maybe we'll think about changing, put the new pads on. Otherwise we'll just burn up the new pads. Yeah, this right here is pretty special. This might be okay in the bottom of a boat. It's really not what you expect to see in the airbox that your engine is breathing out of. You have to clean that out. Yuck. Well, we've reached a situation where we got to compromise. When I put one of the brake lines back on the rear caliper, it split. So that ain't gonna work. It's just a little piece of flexi hose. Unfortunately, I can't get that piece anymore. And I checked to see what it would take to get another one custom made, and they said it's going to be kind of expensive, so we opted to go with just a piece of hardline. I think that'll work. And what that does is that just goes from right here from the caliper up and over and connects to this piece of hardline right here. So I think that'll be fine right there. But I realized on the way home, because I couldn't figure out why they did this out of hose, because the transmission is hard mounted, the caliper is hard mounted, and that only moves a little bit, and then it goes to this, and that's got a little bit of give anyway. And then it dawned on me the reason they did that is because when you want to change the brake pads, you pull these two bolts out, and then you got to be able to move the caliper to get underneath and get the pads out. And if I make that hard line, you're not going to be able to do that. So when it comes time to change the pads, you're going to have to unhook this line, which means it's going to dribble out and make a mess, and you're going to have to rebleed them again. But I guess for $4 instead of $40, I think we'll have to make the compromise. My old four-wheeler, I don't think I've ever changed the brake pads, so it's not something you're going to have to do often. So I think we're just going to have to live with it.